It was the dream come true to have a memorial for Ernie Pyle.
I'm Troy Hill, and I'm here this afternoon in the Ernie Pyle Memorial Home with Mrs. James Elder, who donated the home for a memorial, and I'd like to ask her what inspired her to donate the home and make it into a state memorial.
Thank you, Troy. I have always been very, very interested in Ernie Pyle and his family because the Elder family and Pyle family were very good friends and neighbors. And Ernie was born in this house in 1900, and so he became quite famous, and we felt there was something should be done in his memory. At first they had planned a big library for a memorial, and that plan fell through. The idea came that since he was born in this house, it might be donated by our family for a memorial. The American Legion in Indiana decided that if we could get the house moved into town, they would raise money for the memorial. And they did raise $110,000. Also, the Lilly Foundation gave $25,000 as an additional support. The restoration took over a year, and we had lots of help and people who were interested, and we had to, of course, buy the lots to put the house on. And on July 3rd of 1976, we had a big dedication program. The governor of Indiana, Governor Bowen, and many, many from the American Legion and the National Commander. It was quite a gala day for Dana.
Ernie's dad had died in 1951, and all of the Pyle furniture was sold at a public auction. So a committee of people from Dana here tried to recreate the house, much as might have been when Ernie was born in the house. Now, some of the things do belong to the Pyles, and here in the living room, the clock on the mantel did belong to the Pyles. The black rocking chair, this belonged to Mr. Pyle. He was a very short man, just a little over 5 feet tall, and they cut this chair down so that his feet would touch the floor. And it does look a little out of proportion with the high back and the low seat. The three-piece settee was once horsehair covered, but Mrs. Elder had it reupholstered so that it would look nice here in the memorial. In the bedroom, the furniture is pretty much like what was in the Pyle home. The bed and the dresser and the washstand are solid oak, and they were donated by 3 different people, but they do match pretty well. The cradle was used by Ernie. It was borrowed from a neighbor. The picture above the fireplace is his mother and father, Will and Maria Taylor Pyle. She named him after her maiden name, Ernest Taylor Pyle, and the parents called him Ernest, but everyone else in the world called him Ernie. The dining rooms were made large in those days because usually the families were large, and they would sit around the table on the long winter evenings and study and play games. Ernie was an only child, and he and his wife did not have children. The kitchen is the most authentic looking room in the house. People who were in the Pyle home know that the kitchen looks pretty much like the Pyles did. We have put things in the cases pretty much as Ernie's life went. We have the family Bible and the family history. We have toys he played with as a child. He started a school here in the town of Dana, but he was a small boy and he was shy and he felt inferior to the town kids. So when he was in the 2nd grade, his parents transferred him to Helt Township High School, a new school that had just been built. And in the case, we have his diploma. He graduated in 1918. And his report cards, he was a very good student. He wanted to quit school when he was a senior and join the service. This was World War I. but his parents insisted that he get his diploma. So as soon as he graduated, he did join the Navy, and he only served 6 months, and then the armistice was signed. But as soon as he got out of the Navy, why, he went to Indiana University. Now, he didn't know what he wanted to study. He only knew that he wanted to get away from the farm. His sophomore year, why, he did begin to study journalism. And he was a very popular man on campus. His shyness remained with him all of his life, and this seemed to endear him even more to the students. And he was editor of their student newspaper, and he was on their yearbook, the Arbutus. From IU, he went to LaPorte, Indiana. This was his first job with the newspaper. And he hadn't been at LaPorte too long till Scripps Howard News in Washington, D.C. offered him $2.50 more a week if he would come there and write. Today that would buy a gallon of milk, but in the 20s that was a pretty good raise for a young man. And this is where he met Geraldine Sebold, the girl from Minnesota that he did marry. And he persuaded the newspaper to let him become a roving reporter. So for 5 years, from 1935 through 1940, why, Ernie and his wife traveled all over the United States, Alaska and Hawaii, and he wrote a column called The Hoosier Vagabond. Even before the United States got into war, why, Ernie persuaded the newspaper to let him go to England and write about the Germans bombing London. And then when we got into war, why, Ernie went to North Africa in 1942. This is when he began to really write the columns that was to make him famous. He was on the front cover of the Time magazine. They named an airplane after him. We have the jacket that he wore in Tunisia, and the duffel bag, the gas mask holder, medals that he was given. The few columns that he wrote while on Okinawa are contained in the book, The Last Chapter. This was where he was killed, and we have the telegram that was mailed or was sent to Ernie's dad here in Dana telling of Ernie being killed.